Hey team, Will Cobb here, and we are here with Eric Fuerstenberg. We're going to be talking with him about his awesome industrial film photography work and him just learning film photography recently and what inspired him to get into film photography. I'm super excited about this interview, so stick around and let's go interview him right now. Hey Eric, how's it going?
Hey man, cool. Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Welcome to Film Friend Fridays. You've got your drink. I've got my drink. We're getting started here. Mm-hmm. Cheers.
Cheers, man. What are you drinking? What? It looks like a red.
Just a red wine. I don't even really know.
Not a wine guy. Okay.
Well, I feel like I am kind of because we're both in California, right? You're up in the Bay Area.
You're in Slow, right?
Yeah, down in Slow. I feel like I should be a wine person because Slow is like a wine region, but
you're close to Paso and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, even San Luis has like wineries down in Edna. And it's like, I go and try it and I'm like, oh, that tastes like a red,
I'm getting an essence of grapiness here.
Yeah, for sure.
No, I actually used to live in Santa Barbara. So I've been through Slow quite a bit. Spent some time in Morro Bay and I actually do the drive every once in a while from the Bay Area down to Santa Barbara again. So yeah, it's a cool little spot.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I absolutely love it. I love Santa Barbara a lot. Santa Barbara is so cool.
It's just like vacation paradise all the time, every day of the year. Yeah.
Yeah. The weather's absolutely perfect. And where are you in the Bay right now?
So I work in Redwood City and I used to live in Redwood City, just right on the peninsula, a bit south of the city. Okay. But for all the COVID stuff, my now fiance and I, we are actually staying. So if you're familiar with where like Santa Cruz is, kind of north of the Monterey Bay. So we're in Capitola, which is just a little like beach town right next to Santa Cruz, just kind of riding out this whole thing.
I love Capitola.
Dude, it's a great little spot.
Yeah. We have some friends that have a beach house up there. And we've been a couple times and it's magic.
It kind of goes one of two ways. Either it's like beautiful sun, nice and warm, or the fog hits really heavy and you kind of get those really moody kind of cooler days. And we're kind of getting into that season now. So it's, a little bit hard to get out and, get the good light, but it's been fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been looking at your photography and you've been doing a lot of like architectural sort of like industrial buildings. So what draws you to shooting those industrial buildings and the industrial look?
So I just full transparency, I'm super new to photography in general, film or digital. So it's really only been probably a couple of months, maybe since like early July since I picked up my first 35 millimeter. So it's been like a super rapid learning curve for me. I feel like I've always had a little bit of I don't know, I don't want to like toot my own horn or anything, but like a little bit of an eye for design and like an aesthetic that I know that I like. And so, I think I'm just drawn to kind of that everyday, little bit of mundane, like new topographic type stuff, just documenting space and funky architecture. Anything that kind of catches my eye is just like really easy. Like I'll just eat that up and take shots of that all day long.
Yeah. What do you do for your day job? Do you have a design aspect in your day job?
No. So I work, I work in tech in the Bay Area. So I'm at a software company in Redwood City. Little bit of coding, kind of like keeping the info moving through the tubes, that kind of general techie stuff. So, yeah.
Well, do you find like when all of, you're teched out and like the top of the line doing all this coding all the time, like, do you find that like falling back on film is a release? Like, what do you get out of doing something so analog,
I've obviously, as I'm kind of like getting more into this community and, learning and watching other people's YouTube, just listening to other people kind of talk about their journeys, I think a lot of mine has kind of ticked a lot of the same boxes. It's everyone walks around with their phone in their pocket all day long. You can take a million snapshots of everything, but it just never felt meaningful. There was never that kind of connection to it. And I think what really kind of kicked me down this path initially was probably back in December, right around the holidays time. I was spending some time with my girlfriend's family, and she had a cousin who had a little, one of those little Fuji Instax, like little mini ones. It was probably like pink or something like that. But she was just snapping shots of us, you know, working in the kitchen, hanging out, spending time with the family. And there was just something really cool about living that moment and then being able to all kind of stand around together and literally watch that thing develop on a film right in front of you. Like, you know, watch the light kind of fade in, and it was cool. And she gave a couple to us afterward, and I slapped them on my fridge. And for the next probably like 5 months, every time I'd go grab a glass of water or get something out of the fridge, I'd see them right there. And, you know, you're just immediately like transported back to that moment that you were hanging out with your family and your friends. And it just was so distinctly different from scrolling through all your pictures in your phone, right? Like they're all there, but I have to go purposely look for something if I'm trying to find it. And the fact that I could like, you know, put something like this little Instax shot on my fridge, see it daily, and just be constantly reminded of that was really cool. And so I think that was like the first little inkling of like, hey, there's something more here. There's a little bit like slower process. It's not as kind of like, you know, blown out mass consumerism, quick satisfying type thing.
Yeah. I can relate to that so much. We did a trip that kind of like blew up my film thought process. Was like, I was already kind of getting into it a little bit. We went to Joshua Tree and this other shoot in Palm Springs. I was there for a videography gig, but we just kind of went to Joshua Tree after, and it was incredible. But I brought a film camera. I borrowed my friend's film camera, but he also had one of those Instax cameras too. And one of my favorite things from that trip is the Instax photos that we have on our wall. Same thing.
It's funny, right? Yeah. It's like, they're always a little wonky. The exposure is never quite right. Like either the shadows are way too muddy or it's like way blown out highlights. I think, I mean, they're just fun. There's just something cool and enjoyable about that. And so kind of like what kept pushing me down this path to eventually picking up my first 35 millimeter and just playing with that was I was planning a trip to Yosemite with my then girlfriend, now my fiance, planning on doing like the proposal thing and having like a really, you know, cool experience. And I wanted something to document that a little bit more than just taking shots on my phone. So I was doing a bunch of research. I ended up picking up, I forget exactly. It's like the Fuji Instax wide camera, the wide 300. It's funny. It almost looks like a Mamiya 7 or something. It's that kind of, you know, weird little block shape. You open up the film back and everything. But I picked up one of those and was shooting it a little bit before the trip. And I don't know, I mean, we would go out and we'd find really interesting landscapes or driving. So my fiance's family have a place up in Healdsburg, which is kind of north of the bay, a little bit wine country, much more rural, like ag land, and lots of cool old barns and just beautiful landscapes, but you can't really capture that with an Instax. And so I'd see something that was really interesting. Yeah. And I just was excited by it. And I'd look at what was on, you know, this little Instax film, and it just wasn't quite what my mind's eye remembered. And I was just constantly frustrated by that. It had like a little bit of focus adjustment you could do, maybe like bump up the exposure a little bit, bump it down a little bit, but like minimally, that's it. I remember coming home from that afternoon and just kind of frantically searching the internet for how to get into 35 millimeter photography and all the classic questions that everyone types into Google, like, what's the best 35 millimeter camera to buy? And some people were saying, go full manual. Some people were saying, you know, pick something up from the early 90s that can do everything for you. And so I ended up settling for kind of mid-range. I got a Nikon FE2, which is, you know, aperture priority, which was good for someone like me that literally had no exposure to the exposure triangle at all. Trying to learn it all from scratch. So it's been good. Yeah. Yeah.
I hear that that's a pretty good camera. Do you just have like a stock 50 on it, or did you get a couple lenses?
So yeah, I did the standard recommendation. I think I got a 50 2.8, whatever their standard is. I still don't know a lot about lenses. There's so much to know, but bought just like a stock 50 mil and played around with it a bunch on the trip. And I think one of the reasons why I picked this camera in the first place, as silly as it sounds, is I was hooked by the weird idea that So I really wanted this 1/4000th of a second shutter speed for whatever reason. It was like extra.
I mean, that's nice.
Nice. Yeah. I guess now that I'm thinking about it, it's a little bit silly that I landed on that camera just because of that feature. But I remember the first roll that I shot in it. I mean, I made sure it worked. I like checked the shutter advance and everything, and all the shutter speeds and stuff. But when I started shooting it, I forgot to move it to the automatic mode, and I left it on like 1/4000th of a second. So my entire first roll that I shot was just massively underexposed. So bummed out by that. But
yeah, I mean, to have a film camera like have 1/4000th, like that's pretty great.
Yeah, I mean, the bit of research that I've been doing elsewhere, like just rarely see that now.
For sure. And then a lot of times it's stopping down your f-stop to try to get the broad daylight. And then you got that less bokeh to get in there. But yeah, I mean, that's really good for daylight shooting for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for stopping stuff. So I none of my cameras do that. The highest I go is 1,000. And then my 6x6 Bronica, that goes only 500. And
oh, wow. Yeah.
I just have to make sure I'm shooting right on it.
Yeah, that's got to be tough. I mean, you can't really. So, I mean, I guess you want to try to stay away from the harsh, like midday light and everything. But yeah,
you can make it work. Have you tried? What's your favorite film stock on there? Have you tried a bunch of them, or do you have a go-to?
Yeah, so I started out. I think I just grabbed like 4 rolls of Ultramax 400, just whatever I could get my hand on as we were going on this trip. But since I've shot like Fuji Superia. Just been kind of doing Portra now just because it's there and pretty readily available. And I really think at this phase in like my kind of journey into all this, I think it's really important to get a solid understanding of, get a consistent understanding of what the shots are going to look like in different lighting conditions, and sticking to the same film stock just is working for me right now. So I haven't really done anything with black and white. I know there's some really cool like CineStill stuff that you can do for some nighttime shots and that, but I haven't really dipped my toes in that world yet at all. Well, what about you? What are you into right now?
I'm into Portra right now. I actually am very excited to try out some basically movie film.
Oh, how do you adapt that, or what?
Well, you can't buy it off the shelves. You either have to roll it yourself into the 35 millimeter canister, or some people like on Etsy do it. So I just bought 6 rolls of different like varying ASAs. So I'm going to try those out.
That's wild.
I'm really excited about it. Movie film has a better dynamic range from what they say. And it's supposed to just kind of hit the colors just right, that cinematic look. The only problem is most labs can't develop it, so you have to remove this layer while you're developing.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Do you develop yourself? Or?
I don't. I haven't. Yeah, I'm a little bit too early on to get full bore into that, but I know you do. And so, is that like an extra step in the process? Then you just have to like remove some.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a rimjet is what it's called. There's a rimjet layer. Yeah. And what's cool about CineStill is it's already been removed.
Yeah, I read that. Yeah.
Before it's shot. And what happens is a halation of the light. And
so you get those cool effects on all the lights. Yeah, all the neon and everything. Those shots look really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a roll of the CineStill. I haven't tried it yet. I'm waiting for the right time.
Yeah. I was just on a walk last night, like classic blue hour. Sun was just going down. You could, people had their lights starting to turn on in their houses, and it's just, I think the next draw is to try to start playing around with that night photography and capture some of that feeling. Yeah.
It's cool for sure. We had Kyle Framed by 35 on our show.
Yeah, I actually watched that interview. Yeah, he's doing some really cool stuff right now.
Yeah, he is. And all of his night photography, he's just like something about just exposing your film for a long period of time causes color shifts. And I think I posted it on that video, but the one of like it's like a car, the butt end of a car, and it's just got like crazy neon colors all over it. He said those colors weren't there. They just showed up in the film because it was exposed.
It's almost like when you're looking at it with your eyes, you're seeing it's all kind of grays. It's tones of gray. And then I've seen some of these shots and like these deep blues come out and like these really cool like yellows off the lights. And it looks fun.
It's a whole nother beast though. You gotta tripod it. You gotta do
reciprocity and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't even dove that far into that.
No.
I tried one night, and I had my digital camera, and I was doing some night shots with the digital, and I was like, okay, it took 20 seconds to get this shot on digital. I'll do a similar amount of time, and completely black. And I tried to do some longer ones. It needs to stay open for like a minute or two.
Yeah, that's nuts.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
I mean, talk about slowing down and being more methodical, and like, you can't just fire off a random 1 minute shot, man. You have to really know what you're doing there and dial it in.
Yeah. That's the slowest. Like I enjoy film because it makes me slow, but that's even those nighttime guys. Like, I feel like they're just like out there, they've got their tripod, they just set it up, chill for a long time.
I mean, I'm sure there's something meditative about it, just kind of wandering around at night and just hanging out. Yeah. I have to give it a shot here soon. But so you shoot, I mean, you're kind of, I think I first saw your stuff on Instagram and you were doing a lot of like landscape. I think I remember commenting on your, those really cool rock formations in Oregon, like southwestern Oregon, just wild landscape with the trees kind of hanging off the rocks and just super cool right against the beach there. You kind of blend between the landscape and the city shots, and like, what's been exciting you recently?
That's a good statement, like, just to bring up, because like, I feel like I don't have, I think there's a common theme of more so just, I really like pastels, and I really like, I don't necessarily take super dark shots. I don't necessarily take super bright ones. I kind of like these pastels, the lighter tones. I feel like everything excites me, really. I really love nature, and I really love the landscapes. A while back, I did some in the Sierras, and I really loved how those came out. And then, like you said, I was up in Oregon, and those shots were just amazing. The colors were just popping. But then there's something about portraits that I really love. We're wedding photographers. In one of our day jobs, she does that full time. And so I really love portraits there. But then, I don't know, I love all the other stuff too. I love like the old cars, the houses.
There's too much, man. It's like everything. Yeah. It's funny how that happens. It's hard to like, I talked about this also with Kyle, where he's got a very specific look for his feed, and so does Nevin Color, one of the other interviews. I love his stuff. Yeah, I do.
It's
all
incredible.
The pinks, and it's like everything is just on point. There's the same theme, and
his effort, like I'll like message him and I'll be like, what are you doing? And he's like, I was up at like 4 a.m. I'm like,
that's crazy.
I'm like, I need some sleep.
It's early. It's worth, I mean, it's obviously worth it though, from everything he's been putting out.
Yeah. He works his butt off, but I don't know. I'm into everything, which I don't know, isn't very specific, but,
no, I feel you though. I mean, so I think I remember you saying in one of your other videos, you've been doing the film thing since the beginning of the year, like January. Okay. Late last year.
Sounds like the same time frame that you said you started getting into it in Christmas time.
I think it piqued my interest at Christmas time. I didn't pick up my first camera until the beginning of July. So it's literally been a couple months for me. But I don't know. I'm kind of at the phase where lots of things interest me. Like we're just saying, like Instagram loves the car shots, and they love, a lot of very like particular things, but I'm just trying to feel it out and see what works for me. And I think, like we were saying before, I kind of gravitate more towards that like single subject kind of, some sort of architecture, whether it's someone's house or like a really interesting industrial building or, something cool that's going on that just, I mean, for me, it's first of all, if it is pleasing aesthetically, I guess. And then as I kind of develop my skills and, learn to kind of tell a little bit more of a story with it, I think, it'll grow from there. But
well, and again, that's what I liked a lot about yours, was the industrial kind of vibe of it. And so let's go to the part of the show where we pull up one of your shots.
Nice.
So even just in your last like 9, and when we talk about aesthetic, like I feel like I was saying, like I feel like I shoot a lot of different things, but I think my color palette tends to stay towards pastels and pinks and stuff. You also have this sort of like bright sort of like, you've got greens, kind of like a really solid greens tones, But there's that brightness, there's the industrial vibe. But even going to like just your last 9, I think are some of my favorites from you. But you also had these green tones a little while back in some like trash compactors. But
yeah, that was a funny little scene to stumble upon.
I liked that one. Well, let's talk about that one then. I mean, the 3 color tones right there, pretty awesome. And then
they popped pretty well. I mean, I didn't really do much of any posts on this one. Yeah.
I mean, I absolutely love it. That center green color just like absolutely popped in it.
So this is sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you did it in Portrait 400, so it really likes that kind of like greeny, the yellows.
Yeah, like the kind of the tan browns and the blue skies just like really just fly off the picture with Portrait from what I've seen. But I don't know. This is just it's a random little spot north of 101 in Redwood City. I think this is like a sheriff's building or something like that, kind of tucked behind a little loading bay. But I was off in the area because I was really interested in there's a big cement mixing facility and everything up on that side of the city. And so I was kind of wandering around and trying to take some shots, and I was focusing mostly on like, the trucks entering and leaving and, the cool industrial buildings. And I turned to my left and I just like caught the color just like out of the corner of my eye. And it's just a bunch of, they're just garbage containers, right? Like recycling containers and whatnot. But, just the balance between the angle, I guess, that it's shot at and how they're kind of lined up perfectly right there. Just, waiting. Yeah, it was just a cool shot.
Yeah. I mean, when you have colors like that, you just gotta look at it.
You gotta shoot it. Yeah.
You gotta shoot it. But I just find that so interesting, like, cause you're in the Bay Area, but you're like drawn to these more industrial. You would not think that you were in the Bay Area with these shots. I think that's what I'm getting at here. Yeah.
It's funny. I mean, so I've been in California now for close to 10 years, but I grew up in the Midwest. So I grew up in Minnesota and went to school in Wisconsin, a little bit more rural. And so I didn't really grow up around a lot of the like big industrial manufacturing type feel. And so there's something just interesting and a little bit abnormal about that I find that's kind of cool. Yeah. I remember looking at, I forget the name of I forget the guy's name now, but a couple Instagrams that I follow with it just really on point. Like, I don't know, it just in quarries and really cool top-down shots of, various machinery. And it's just, there's something like alien, otherworldly about it sometimes. Like it could be on a different planet. And it's just, really funky and cool. And was trying to capture a little bit of that and took some inspiration from that. So I was kind of happy to stumble across these big, I think it's just a big cement mixing plant, but it's got some wild silos going on and weird, conveyor belts and all that fun stuff. So, yeah.
That's cool. I mean, that's so interesting. But then you've also started to, like in the last 9, several of them have that point of interest, like you were talking about, where like you have this like tipped over side thing, you have this solitary building. So, I mean, that, like, you're already like nailing some like amazing photography, like 101 kind of stuff, like where
thanks, man.
You want that, like, you want that though, you want that, like, why does this shot matter? Like, I've noticed that a lot of my shots where I do think really deeply about what I'm doing, shooting through something, having that point of interest, those are the best shots. Those always do the best, in numbers, if we cared about numbers, but they always do the best in comments and just people saying something nice about them. But my shots that tend to not do well or whatever are just kind of, maybe there's nothing specific to focus on. But yeah, that's what I was really drawn to. And one of the big things I wanted to talk to you about was that point of interest. Like when you're going about, like, what are you thinking about? Like, I know you enjoy these, I know you enjoy the industrial vibe, the land, that sort of Midwest landscape kind of thing. So what draws you to that?
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm looking for, I don't know, something that's a little bit abnormal. I think I do a lot of like neighborhood walks right now. And when I first started shooting, I had this idea that, I'm going to do maybe a quick little, like newbie series of all the houses in my neighborhood just to get a feel for, framing and what kind of angles work best. And just like, colors and that kind of thing. And I quickly found that I just kind of got bored of just shooting like a random house, a random house, a random house, a random house. And I was looking for something that was, even if it was a singular subject, something that was kind of off about it. And so there's one of the shots that I just posted pretty recently of that like white house. It's on like Cliff Drive in Santa Cruz overlooking the ocean. Beautiful multi-million-dollar houses lined up. And then we have this kind of little white house that looks like it was maybe built in the 80s. It's a little bit mod. At one time, it probably cost a lot of money, but it's a little bit run down. There's kind of like this old rickety wooden deck on it. And there's like this beautiful red bougainvillea running up the side. And I just started thinking about like, what's going on with this house? Like, why is this like multi-million-dollar house not taken care of? What's the story here? Is this like someone's grandma that passed away and, they're not maintaining the house? Just like there's a little bit of depth there that kind of caught me and made me think about it beyond just, hey, here's a beautiful house. Let me take a picture of it. So trying to catch things like that I'm seeing as I'm wandering around my environment. Yeah.
That thought process right there, that's so good.
I mean, it's fun. Yeah. Those are the moments where like, I don't know. I kind of feel like I could go out and burn through as many rolls as I can, I can just click the shutter button and take a bunch of pictures. And I have been doing that to just kind of learn and kind of figure out what I like. But I find that the ones that I really like as I'm going through, I get some scans back from the lab. The things that I do like are either some sort of like funky, interesting, like thing, or there's a little bit of a story there. And I think that's pretty common, right? Like we're all kind of looking for, like you were saying, like a little bit of depth to the picture. Like if you look a little bit longer, you see some more interest and it kind of draws people in. So I'm looking to keep developing that, definitely.
That's awesome, dude. And I think, to wrap all this up, I think that's what I'm looking for out of these interviews is like, I'm not just doing these, for fun. I am doing them for fun, but I'm doing them to pull something out of it. Like, I think everybody looks at the world differently. I think everybody is looking for something specific like that. So like, I think that's a really good tip for anyone watching, that, you can go out and be thinking more in depth about every shot. That's what, I love about film. It seems like that's what you love about film.
It's been really fun.
Yeah. Like when I run around with my digital, I just don't feel like I'm doing that. I just feel like I'm shoot, I'm going to shoot this, I'm going to shoot that. And then I trash all of the photos when I get home, you have to, that's the thing is you have to go through them all, which can take some time. But I like that you're doing this. Like, it's really cool that one thing that I've really liked, and I've never been a big social media guy before all of this. And I still don't consider myself, I'm not in it for like all the followers and that kind of thing necessarily, but the film community, from the bit that I've dipped my toe into it, it just seemed really cool. The fact that, you can just spark up a conversation with someone, ask a couple quick questions and get someone genuinely interested. Everyone's super pumped about their cameras. Everyone wants to talk about what they're doing, what they're working with. And it's less about the camera that you're using and more about kind of the method that you're taking and, what you're interested in shooting, which I think is really cool. And I don't know a ton about digital, but I know there's like huge back and forth between brands and all that kind of stuff. And it's just really cool to hear on the film side that we're all just kind of, pumped to go out and shoot some shots. So. Yeah. And that's what it boils down to. And I appreciate you saying that and coming on the show today.
Yeah, definitely.
And, you could be someone that's shooting film forever. You could be someone that's shooting film just for a little bit like you. Even me, I haven't been shooting for too long. Like, it's fun to have this film friend community. So I really appreciate you being on, Eric.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. It's been fun.
Yeah. So when I'm up in the Bay Area or Santa Cruz, I'll hit you up.
Please do. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff up here. Definitely worth coming.
Yeah. I love Santa Cruz area. I've been dying to hit up Big Sur again. So.
Oh yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on, Eric. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
All right, man. I'll see you.
Cool. Cheers.
Thank you so much for watching that interview, Eric. It was awesome meeting you and awesome interviewing with you. I'm super inspired by you, just learning everything and diving deep into this. Just The way that you're already looking at film photography is just awesome, and I hope a lot of people that watch this can learn more about film photography through you and to be inspired to also get into film photography themselves. If you want to check out his work, I've got him linked down below. Thank you guys so much for watching Film Friend Fridays. I try to come out with a Film Friend Fridays every week. You can follow me on Instagram at Film Friend Fridays or One Will Cobb, my personal one, for my film photography. Just thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for joining us. Spread the word about Film Friend Fridays, and we'll see you on the next one. See you guys.